Oh god, I forgot that it's slight mode. Oh, god, I forgot. Yo, what up? So this is going to be an interesting video because, well, unlike my other videos where I analyze something and make a whole script explaining that something and all that, I am instead treading through some similar yet unknown waters known as the SCP. The SCP is interesting to me and I'm going through them because they were the biggest inspiration for the things that I'm covering, aka the abnormalities. So I thought to myself, why not check some of them out? But here's the problem. I don't know shit about SCP, only some of its basics and some of the more popular SCPs. So I turn to all of you, or at least some of you, to give me some recommendations on which SCPs I should read up on. And here we are. Here are some of my favorite SCPs that I read up on by your recommendation. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Field trip. Oh damn, different. That is certainly a different look. Very short, huh? Oh well. Overseer, the following file, anomalous cognito hazard, level 4, 2316, classified. Okay. Keter. Oh yeah, yeah, so save, Euclid, Keter, Thamiel. I have no clue what any of this is. I only know these four though. I have no clue what any of this is, so that's something. The following file contains images and text that are carriers for anomalous cognito hazardous influences. You do not recognize the bodies in the water. Well, that's something. Due to this, it is imperative that all personnel accessing this file be certified as having a cognito resistance value, CRV, of no less than 14.5. Should you fail an automated CRV verification, please remain calm and do not move. A member of your site's medical staff will be with you shortly. Please repeat the following phrase slowly and clearly into your terminal microphone. I do not recognize the bodies in the water. Okay, you can interact with this shit. That's nice. Special containment procedures. Under no circumstance are Foundation personnel to approach SCP-2316. Observation of 2316 must only be carried out by remote dummy probes utilizing video and audio recording equipment. Only those personnel adequately rated for exposure to cognito hazardous anomalies may review footage and audio of 2316. The lake in which 2316 is located has been quarantined and fenced off, so the lake itself is not the SCP, but rather something in it. What is it, like the Loch Ness Monster or something? And is to be routinely patrolled by individuals who have not been exposed to 2316. I have no prior knowledge of its characteristics. You do not recognize the bodies in the water. Individuals who attempt to bypass the enforced quarantine must be apprehended and moved to site 33 for a full cognitive influence screening. Individuals who come within 50 meters of the lake containing 2016 are to be considered lost. Please repeat the following. Okay, sure. I do not recognize the bodies in the water. I don't recognize them. Not at all. 2316 is the designation for an anomalous phenomenon existing within Lake Blank, within Blank County Blank. 2316 manifests as a group of human corpses, floating in a small group at the surface of the water. The identities of these corpses are cognito hazard removed, automated change unknown, though DNA testing has been inconclusive. Okay. While 2316 appears to be individual instances, it is theorized that 2316 may instead be an entity composed of a collective consciousness. Individual instances of 2316 do not act on their own, but do seem to be able to act collectively as a single unit. The individual instances of 2016 are unrecognizable, and you do not recognize the bodies in the water. Another reminder, 2016 hosts a powerful cognito-hazardous effect, causing those who have viewed 2016 are aware of certain parts of its nature, or who were enrolled in the cognito-hazard removed invalid. Okay, so enrolled in the... what exactly? To believe that the individual instances of 2316 are human beings they recognize, typically from their childhood. Attempting to come into contact with 2016 instances by way of entering Lake Blank or touching an instance of 2016 will cause other instances of 2016 to appear. You do not recognize the bodies in the water. The additional instances only serve to reinforce and add to the strength of the cognito hazard, compelling affected individuals into the lake. Individuals who entered the lake in this way are lost, and to date, none have been recovered. That's something. At end of interview, they didn't expunge. Please repeat the following. Oh, well... okay, that's certainly something. So, very short, very nice, and very cool little SCP. Not too bad. In short, if you enter the lake, just remember, you do not recognize any of the bodies that are in the lake, and that's it. Very simple there. Short, nice, not too bad. Next one. E is for eternity. Quite a long one, but, well, unknowingly long. But that's something. The guy has explained that it's an ideal afterlife that just doesn't end. Lamau ideal joke. Anyways, SCP-7179. Object class safe. As SCP-7179 is unable to be accessed or witnessed through non-anomalous means, containment is not required. Interesting. 7179 refers to an unknown number of cubic extra-dimensional spaces, measuring approximately 10 kilometers on each edge. Upon any human's death, their consciousness is trapped to an instance of 7179, where they will physically remanifest in the same state as they were upon death, except in perfect health. Based on limited observation and experimentation, there are no known cases of human death where the consciousness does not appear in an SCP-7179. Interesting. So 7179 is literally an afterlife. Gotcha. Aside from insignificant differences between each of them, instances of 7179 are functionally identical. Each space is an oceanic environment with a single tropical island in the center. The environment of the space remains at a consistent temperature, one which is of adequate comfort to the deceased individual. Furthermore, 7179 instances never display stormy or otherwise violent weather, and the sun perpetually remains directly above the island, leaving it in eternal daytime. As there seems to be no natural wind in 7179, there is no natural water activity either. Individuals attempting to leave in a 7179 instance simply end up on the opposite edge of the same space. Okay. With 7179 acting as a functional omni-lock. Additionally, the passage of time within 7179 is highly inconsistent with that of baseline reality. So you can't leave it. I mean, it's the afterlife, right? You can't really leave the afterlife unless you're brought back to life somehow. Which if there is, then okay, cool. Plant life in 7179 bears several different species of edible tropical fruits. Other fruits of unknown species are also present, which are analogous to substances such as alcohol. Animal life includes several varieties of tropical birds, butterflies, and a few instances of domestic pigs. Are the animals dead, I guess would be the first question to say. On the coast of each island is a beach house which contains various amenities and furniture for sustainable living. Each house is home of the 3 human beings of sexual preference to the inhabitant. Oh, these beings seemingly bear no will of their own and are completely loyal to the... but are otherwise completely identical to normal humans. Injuries suffered by humans within 7179 heal at a normal rate. Although death is impossible, seemingly fatal injuries are thus recoverable, albeit quite painfully. Okay, sure. The Department of Tactical Theology was able to fully observe an instance of 7179 using the experimental Intelligent Soul Interface construct. Dante? Oh. Dante mentioned. What the fuck? The construct is mimetic in nature and fuses with consciousness via the noosphere, allowing data to be relayed back to the physical world. Dante was covertly applied to Paul Hiddleston, a 34-year-old man diagnosed with untreatable brain cancer. Hiddleston perished shortly after the construct was applied, and his consciousness was transferred to 7179. Okay, so this is essentially what happens at the time. Hiddleston arrives on his instance of 7179. He stands next to a small beach house. 3 women, appearing to be in their mid-20s, walk out of the house to greet him. And regaining his composure and becoming accustomed to 7179, Hiddleston finds himself comfortable and begins to engage in frequent pleasurable activities such as eating, drinking, drug use, and sexual intercourse. Yep. Okay. Over time, Hiddleston starts to drink and partake in mind-altering fruits with much great frequency, more than any other activity. Hiddleston starts neglecting to eat at all for considerable periods of time. He occasionally attempts to converse with the women on the island, but is frustrated by their lack of agency or individuality. I can imagine. 5 years. Hiddleston ceases his former activities altogether, spending much of his time wandering 7179. Hiddleston becomes panicked and attempts to leave 7179, building a raft from one of the island's trees. Each time he reaches the edge of 7179, he appears on the opposite side. After several attempts, Hiddleston collapses in despair for multiple days until he regains his composure and continues his prior activities. Hiddleston uses the wildlife and plant life on the island to begin pursuing culinary activities. He constructs basic farms and pens to keep and breed animals. His mental state improves as he continues to develop his skills. 18 years. Oh god, what a jump. Hiddleston has become an expert in cooking, having both replicated dishes from memory and created new ones. He shows no signs of ceasing as he begins attempting to crossbreed with various plants. 37 years. Hilson continues his endeavors, though he begins to show signs of weariness and boredom. 81 years. Hilson has once again regressed into a depressive state. He seeks out other ways to occupy his mind and eventually begins studying construction. He starts assembling tools and equipment for building. 101 years. After a great deal of trial and error, Hilson assembles his first house. He continues building. 287 years. Through a constant maintaining of trees and frequent building projects, able to cover the island with rudimentary structures, he then focuses his efforts towards maintaining and upgrading the structures until he has mastered their fortifications. 416 years. Hilson, through study, experimentation, and experience, has managed to fully fortify each structure into usable houses. He begins expanding his structures and extra stories and decor, as well as building various watercraft. That's nice. Hilson's efforts slowly start winding down again as his ability to produce lumber and natural resources reaches equilibrium. With his construction expansion, he decides to tear down and rebuild structures in new ways, remixing them over centuries. Oh god, I'm looking already and my god, that's a lot. Despite his frequent activity, Hilson shows worsening symptoms of depression and anxiety. Rest of seriously considered the concept of endless life in 7179. His mental state continues to degrade as he searches for ways to keep a sound mind. 5,478 years. Hilson starts tearing through his structure without reason. Though the village is torn down after several months, he starts building again. Hilson attacks the tree women, tearing their bodies apart. Oh, okay. Well, he shows symptoms of severe stress after doing so and attempts but fails to take his own life by drowning himself. He continues to build over time, but intersperses his projects with bodily harm to himself. The three women are fully reassembled. By this point, Hilson has grown numb to the violence and begins bodily experimentation on them. Okay. Hilson builds a crude structure designed to crush him to death under the weight of several thousand tons of lumber and stone. Upon activation, it completely mangles and destroys his body. Okay, Hilson is fully healed. While the experience appears to have been unbearably painful for him, the stimulus allows him relief from the boredom. He reads the process in multiple different fashions. Hilson burns himself alive. His body is fully reduced to ashes before the fire naturally dissipates. Fully healed. Makes many similar self-destructive attempts upon himself, but each time grows more numb to the experience. It's easy to exhibit rationality as he struggles to find new stimuli as the millennia passes. Tries to leave, he fails. Okay, that's after 8,500,000,000 years. 30 billion years. Looks towards the sun, it has not set. 1 trillion years. Sees physical activity, as no experience is able to provide him with new stimuli. Okay, all potential permutations, particles within 7179 have been theoretically reached. 1 second of eternity has passed. 10 to the 100 years. So where's the ideal part of the joke here? There's nothing ideal here. Yeah. Certainly an eternal paradise, but not for like trillions for an eternity, absolutely not. But it definitely makes you question about things like eternity and also what you do if everything was practically in your hands, you know? You can do whatever you wish. So yeah, that's something. It's, as it says, it's certainly safe, but not for the individual. Anyways, this is so unideal. Let's move on to the next one then. Just 3 words. The language that Meursault wants. Number 7832. Classification: Euclid, tricky. Containment: brevity, conservative. Actions: words 3. Singular, mandatory, enforced. Fully expressive concepts. I need to lock the fuck in and make sure that everything in here is fine. Oh god. Singular, mandatory, enforced. So whenever you talk about this, then you need to be as brief as you can. Fully expressive concepts. Written, typed, spoken. So anytime you actually mention it, written or spoke, you have to keep into that 3 words. Recorded, shared, approved. Everyone, everywhere, foundation. Document, easiest, comprehends. Speech, difficult, caution. Language, any, indiscriminate. Okay, so from what I'm trying to understand here is that documents are fine, you can just type it out, but when you're actually talking about it, it's a little bit difficult to maintain this 3 words brevity. Anomaly, visit, sell. Daily, hourly, anyone. Security, clearance, medium. Violate, complexity, disaster, reach, ritual, personnel. So there seems to be a ritual if a breach ever happens, and if you ever violate that security clearance, then some disaster happens. That's why there's a whole tricky part of it all. Recital, simultaneous, orchestrated. Just 3 words, repeated, measured, clear. Okay. I can imagine Meursault fucking loving this document. Description, entity, amalgamation, day, life, mine. Okay, so what is this then? I'll read this later. I'll read this first though. Origin unknown. Reticent. Species singular. Theory. So we don't know where it's from, and I also think that this SCP is on its own, potentially. Intelligent, impatient, dissatisfied, restless, constructive, ceaseless. Complexity, more, always. Additions, everything, everywhere. Okay, I don't know what this sentence really means though. Dangerous, overgrowth, calamity. Hostile, no. Counterproductive. A recent example of a construction. So it's essentially like a bunch of things like combined together. Weakness, discovered, minimalism, enforced, results, positive, activities, reduced, manageable, addendums, tests, few, words, quantity, experiment, none, failure, escaped. So if you say nothing, then it just escapes. If you say 1, it'll be cruel, cruelty, avoid. 2, insufficient, suffers. So say 4, then it becomes excessive and it breaches. 3, balanced, perfect, reliable, secure, conclusive. So from what I'm imagining, like, it's just an amalgamation of wires or something that essentially reacts to how many words you're actually saying. If you're saying too little, then it just suffers or becomes dissatisfied with it. But if you say too much, then it just becomes angry and escapes. So what is this day, life, mine story thing? So is this like the story of the abnormality or something? Certainly an interesting tale to tell. Overall, Meursault approved. Yay. Next SCP now. I don't know anything about it, but I've only heard it by name at least once. Where the dragons went. 1762. Object safe, neutralized. Okay, so it's dead. Saving procedures. 1762-1 is held in a standard containment unit at Site Blank. During the periods when 1762-1 releases 1762-2, video logs are to be recorded for future research. Although instances of 1762-2 have been deemed harmless, they should not be allowed to exit their containment unit. Okay. 1762-1 is a plain cardboard box that is 32 centimeters by 20 centimeters by 26 centimeters. It is a spray painted silver on the interior and exterior, and the words "Here be dragons" are handwritten in black permanent marker on the lid of the container. Opening the lid of 1762-1 when it is not in the process of a release reveals it to be empty. 1762-1 will infrequently open and initiate a release of 1762-2. During this time, the box will briefly emit a large amount of black smoke that quickly dissipates. It takes an average of 20 seconds for 1762-2 to emerge after the smoke clears. Okay. 1762-2 is the collective term applied to the beings that emerged from 1762-1. All instances of 1762-2 bear resemblance to various types of dragons in both Eastern and Western depictions, albeit in forms of similar to that of origami models. Analysis of 1762-2 reveals that they are composed of kami paper. After exiting 62-1, instances of 62-2 will fly together in large groups and interact playfully with any nearby personnel and each other. That's cute. That's a cute image. 62-2 vary in length from 9 to 30 centimeters. All are capable of sustained flight once they exit 72-1 and have been recorded attaining speeds of 15 kilometers per hour. Number of 62-2 varies with each opening of 62-1, with numbers ranging from 50 to over 400. That's a lot of paper dragons. After approximately 2 to 3 hours of time spent outside of 62-1, all instances of 62-2 return and fly back into 62-1 during this time. 62-1 will once again begin emitting smoke, and instances of 62-2 will vanish after passing the rim of 62-1. 62-1 closes once all 62-2 have returned to it. The next date of release is inconsistent. A message written or carved into a variant material will sometimes materialize on top of 62-1's lid. Once the box retrieves all instances of 62-2, attempts to send a message or recording device back with 62-2 have provided negative results. These documents and the appropriate dates of appearance are being compiled and recorded. On blank, 62-1 began to undergo a series of events that lasted 11 months and 20 days. These events, as well as prior incidents that led up to the beginning of the scenario, have now been classified under the title The Jabberwocky event. Was the Jabberwocky event. So I think this is where the actual story starts. So, 2004. This is the first recorded instance of 62-1 opening while contained outside blank. You have found us. Thank you. It has been so long since we last saw each other, friends. The peace has been upheld. The giants and behemoths have kept their word and have not caused any trouble since you last came and gave the word. We missed your company. How has your family been? Do you still know how to work your room? You're welcome to visit any time. It's strange to see how much your world has changed. It is even stranger to see how we now appear in this place. In fantasy, we are much bigger, or maybe you've grown taller. Fantasy is still the same. We hope you can visit us like you used to. Though our room is as grand as ever, it appears yours has shrunken. We don't understand. The rooms were supposed to be maintained, as was our agreement. Please restore the belief. 2005. Only 20 instances of 1762-2 appeared during this event. Said instances did not lift off and instead walked solely on foot for the whole period were they out of 62-1. Friends, we apologize for a few numbers. We have had to remain in fantasy for quite some time. The others are growing impatient. We're trying to keep the peace, but please, for all of our happiness, prepare the room quickly. We know you are trying. Your family is the most imaginative of us all. Okay, along with 10 instances of 62-2 appearing, 3 balls of yellow crumbled construction paper were expelled from 62-1. These pieces were observed to shake violently for 5 seconds, then ceased all further movement. They were picked up by 62-2 and returned to 62-1. The giants were foolish. Your room was not ready to accept them yet. We're sorry, friends. We hope that we can still see you, but time is growing short for our happiness. 5 instances have emerged carrying said documents. They immediately returned to 62-1 after depositing it on the floor. Tensions are rising. Fantasy is becoming darker. We, the serpents and the hybrids, are furiously trying to hold them back, but the giants and the elves wish to strike and make an entrance. They say that your family has grown stupid and ignorant. We hope this is untrue. It would sadden us all greatly to know that you have forgotten. A single red instance of 62-2 emerged from 62-1. Its wings were torn and it was noticeably crumbled. It collapsed on the floor 1 minute later and did not move again. Upon its expiration, the body of 62-2 rapidly unfolded and revealed a message written on the paper. War. Goodbye, friends. 2 hours later, 62-1 opened and emitted flames that reached 2 meters in height and temperatures of 1700 degrees Celsius. Sounds of distant roar when heard from 62-1. At 8 p.m., a large amount of torn paper pieces and paper balls were ejected from 62-1. Several damaged 62-2 were also expelled, were deemed deceased upon examination. Oh no. 62-1 continued to sporadically open and close for the next 6 weeks. During this time, it continued to emit fire as the amount of paper discharged from it steadily decreased. Matter resembling muscle and tissue was continuously expelled. So like, why am I feeling sad for paper? Why am I feeling sad for paper? 62-1 remained closed and inactive for the next 7 months. This is kind of... yeah, it's definitely emotional. I will say my piece, but let's finish this. After falling, 1762-1 continuously emitted smoke for the next 40 minutes before ceasing all activity. Upon trying to pick up 1762-1, I reported the box proceeded to disintegrate upon touching it. Its remains are now kept in a contained capsule in his office. Damn. And then this is the Beasts of the Old Letters, which is this. I don't think I'll live to see them come back, but I'll leave these stories to whomever finds them so that they can know they did exist. The Alphinox. I won't read them, but they look cool. The Bumpkles. It's just a... that's just a bird. Charm Changers. Working just for an animal. Drop-off Dwellers. No painting there. The Eskelberg Forest. Fire Mains. Gargle Gliders. Hopser Vloppers. The Eeyore. Or whatever that is. Jotwax. Carafer, door shards, lightning struck titan, monoliths to heaven, no people, ocean slippers, polydanes, gerbils. I'm assuming that none of them have a picture anymore. Yeah, this is very, very interesting. It definitely tells a story about like the death of fantasy and I guess the death of fiction in a way, as facts and reality kind of sets in. It definitely says a lot about it. Yeah, a very cool SCP. Now, this next one is our last SCP to cover, but to make this a little bit more fun, I decided to do this. I decided to make a wheel of names. A wheel out of the rest of the SCPs that I have not chosen. The last one is going to be the one that is going to be chosen by this wheel. Yeah, so let's spin the wheel. (3760) 3760 was recommended by UL Freak at random. Anyways, let's see what this one holds. 3760. He's got lifeless eyes, black eyes like a doll's eyes. Ah, okay, well, that's certainly something. Special containment procedures. Subliminal mimetic agent Kappa Omicron is to remain in global circulation, propagated via a fabricated scientific fact that acts as a carrier. The Department of Misinformation is to suppress any notion that SMAK-/0's carrier may be untrue. If an individual ceases to believe that the carrier information is factual, they will lose the effects of SMAK/0 and become susceptible to SCP's 3760's anomalous properties. To prevent a potential end of world, all records regarding the nature of SMAK-KO carrier have been restricted to level 5 access. 3760 is an anomalous mutagenic phenomenon which affects the regrowth of a human tissue in response to injury. Oh, so no wonder this shit looks like that. Humans within proximity of a subject afflicted with 3760 run an ongoing risk of infection. However, 3760 does not appear to be microbial in nature. Due to the circumstances of its containment, the vector for transmission of 3760 has yet to be conclusively determined. Spread through eye contact. Injured tissue in affected subjects will anomalously develop various forms of non-human biological features associated with members of the clade Selachimorpha. The fuck is that? Oh, sharks. Gotcha. So when they're injured, they're then healed to be similar to that of sharks. Such features most commonly include, but are not limited to, dermal denticles, benign cartilaginous growths, eyes with nictitating membranes, nasal ducts, teeth, and or jaws. So a guy's eye is being turned into a jaw? Ouch. This reminds me a lot about the abnormality, the shark abnormality. Sensory organs grown by affected subjects appear to be functional and respond to appropriately stimuli, but these sensations are not directly experienced by the subject themselves. So they work, but the actual person can't really tell. Other organs demonstrate similarly independent functionality, including mandibles capable of mastication. Involuntary self-injury from bites are frequent. Any matter consumed by an 3760 grown oral cavity will vanish despite a lack of observable connection to a digestive tract. These aforementioned orifices will repeatedly seek edible material for consumption. So, wait, what? Wait, so let me read that, just to be sure. Oh! So wait, so these organs have their own consciousness? Okay, no wonder I was a little bit confused. These aforementioned orifices will repeatedly seek edible material for consumption. This behavior intensifies in the presence of blood and may even include acts of autocannibalism. A failure to consume edible material at regular intervals will result in necrosis of the affected tissue. In turn, this necessitates the removal of the necrotic tissue, which consequently leads to the emergence of additional 3760 mutations and orifices. God. Precise epidemiological statistics regarding the spread of 3760 are currently impossible to ascertain. Estimates by Foundation researchers have placed the saturation rate of 3760 to be between 71% and 92% of the global populace. SMAKO has proven capable of suppressing symptoms in most affected subjects, with only 2,785 recorded cases of 3760 activity observed between 1958 and 2016. The following is a series of journal entries made by Dr. Keith Woodward, ship's medical officer aboard the USS Kirby. His patients are believed to have been the first victims of 3760. So yeah, no wonder there are these kinds of infections of sharks happening. I can see it more clearly now. Still can't quite make out its feature, even though it's all I can see. It looks like a person was getting bitter. It's swimming towards me. So it's literally just an infection that slowly but surely transforms you into a mutilated shark-like thing with its own consciousness. Jesus. Anyways, I had my fun. A lot of these SCPs are very good to write on. I think my most favorite one by far is the I guess the dragons one, because of the story. Yeah, the dragons one definitely one of my more favorite ones by far. Although the shark one is also pretty cool. Long video, short outro as always. Bye.